Good morning from Iceland. After almost a year of living here, it's finally time to go on my first long-haul trip across to Asia. I'm really excited today. I'm going to be taking you along on 4 different flights on 3 different airlines to 5 different airports. It's basically going to be a 2-day journey to get all the way down to Singapore. So let's head to the airport. It's about a 45-minute drive here from Hafnarfjordur, and we'll catch up with you there. I hope you enjoyed some Icelandic music as I made my way down to Keflavik International Airport on a beautiful April morning. Now, it's kind of sad to leave Iceland when the weather is actually super nice, but it's hard to be mad when you're going on vacation for Easter. Now, today's flight is a 3-leg journey operated by British Airways and Qatar Airways, but since I booked the flight via Qatar, I was not able to check in online for the British Airways leg. So I made sure I got to the airport with plenty of time in order to go through the check-in process, and I was able to get my boarding pass for my remaining 3 flights. I actually reached out to BA over Twitter of all places, or now known as X, and I was able to secure my seat assignment on this first flight, and they offered extra row aisle without me even having to ask for it. So that was really nice of the BA agents, and I'm on economy for this first leg, so it was nice to get a little bit of extra space. Shout out to the security teams at Keflavik International Airport for absolutely no queue this morning. And here we are in the Schengen part of the terminal. This is home to a giant food court and lots of shopping. So if you want to eat or shop, definitely do it here before proceeding down to the non-Schengen area. The non-Schengen area is located at the D gates, so your flight will always operate out of here if you're going to somewhere like the UK or the United States. So you can come here early and beat the rush. There can sometimes be a queue here, but if you come early, you should get right through in a matter of minutes. Now, when you get downstairs to the non-Schengen area, there is a small food court, the Keflavik Diner, and there also is a Sbarro. But this is pretty much it for the options. So, like I said, I would eat upstairs where there's much better choices. But this morning, since I'm just getting a quick cinnamon roll and a delicious blueberry skyr smoothie, no problems hanging out down in the non-Schengen zone. Before I knew it, 2 hours had flown by and it was time to board our flight on British Airways. The gate area can get a little hectic here at Keflavik, so just make sure you're in the right line. But before long, we were heading down the jet bridge to our A320 aircraft. Today's flight is going to be a short one on British Airways. It's only about 2 hours down to London, and I was impressed with the brand new interior on this A320. The legroom was sufficient, the seats were comfortable, brand new, and there were even charging ports on board. The service on BA was actually quite pleasant. It's pretty typical on flights within Europe that not much is included and there's a buy on board menu, but BA at least included a little shortbread snack and a bottle of water. And since I just had breakfast and would be eating in London, I wasn't really worried about it on this flight. I took a look at the menu, but then took a nice nap, and before I knew it, we were pulling into London Heathrow. My connection today at London Heathrow required me to go from Terminal 5 over to Terminal 4 with Qatar Airways, so I decided I might as well make it an adventure as I have a little bit over 4 hours. So I'm going to jump on the tube and head down only about 12 minutes to Hanlo Central to do a little bit of exploring. So, I would normally never leave the airport with a 4-hour layover, but there's something we don't have in Iceland, and I noticed it's only a 12-minute ride on the tube. So here I am in Hounslow, Where do you think I'm going? That's right, we're at the closest Taco Bell to London Heathrow International Airport. I had to get my favorite quesadilla, taco, and cheesy gordita crunch, and I love how they always have combos with extras in the rest of the world you won't find at home. This is the face of a very happy guy. Let's go back to the airport. We got about 2.5 hours into the flight to Doha. While making the 5 to 10 minute walk back to the tube station via the streets of Hounslow, I realized that this neighborhood is a really great place to watch planes on final approach to London Heathrow. The best view is actually from the platform of the station itself, where we see this Virgin Atlantic A350 making its way home. The underground brought me directly to Terminal 4, where there was a massive check-in line for economy on Qatar Airways. But today we're flying in business class and have a designated check-in area. The only reason I even went to check-in is because I wanted to get boarding passes with actual Qatar Airways printed out on them instead of the ones I got from BA. But this was my first time coming to a check-in with a seating area and a drink provided, so that was a nice little perk. So I bought a business light ticket, which does not include lounge access. But honestly, it's not a huge deal. Since I thought I was going into London quickly anyways, I knew I wouldn't spend much time in the lounge, and seat selection is not included, but I got a window seat, no problem at check-in. So honestly, business light is a great deal, especially if you have priority pass. So we're on our way to the plane now, straight from check-in. Wouldn't be the Heathrow experience without a long, dark, creepy hallway, but we can see our 777 over there. Looks like we have the One World livery today, so hopefully we can get a closer up shot when we get over to the gate.
You're pretty much bedtime by the time you're taking off from the plane.
And welcome aboard the Qatar Airways 777-300 in QSuites business class. The flight attendant led me to my seat for this flight, which is going to be 3 Alpha. Now this is a true window seat with the seat aligned against the windows, and one thing you can't really tell from this video is that it's actually rear facing, but other than takeoff and landing, you don't really notice it. I was brought another welcome drink right away, and we have all of our amenities you would expect in business class, our amenity kit, menus, remote controllers, and seat controls. On the side of the Q suite, there's a bit of extra legroom where I'm housing my pillows and blankets, and there's a small storage container underneath the seat as well. While we wait for takeoff, I'm going to go over today's menu. There are lots of options for seafood lovers, meat lovers, and even the burger caught my attention. I don't think I've ever had a hamburger on an airplane, and yeah, as you can probably tell from my Taco Bell experience, I'm a pretty picky and basic eater, so you'll see what I'll have in a few minutes. My first impressions on board were that the Q suite on the 777 is definitely wider than the A350, which I had flown before, so this was a nice surprise, and it's definitely one of my favorite business class seats. So let's get in the air and enjoy more of the experience. you order your meals with the flight attendant on Qatar Airways, you can dine on demand and tell them when in the flight you want to eat, but being an evening flight with a morning arrival in Doha, most passengers are going to order dinner right after takeoff and then go to sleep. I was no exception, so I got started with my champagne and then ordered the Arabic mezzi for my starter. Now, anyone that knows me knows that this is typically something I would never order, but the starter options were not that great or extensive, and I figured we might as well have a little bit of fun with it and make it into a taste test. The first meze was basically like a hummus. It didn't have a whole lot of flavor, maybe just, slightly nutty, and it was probably my favorite of all of the three. Next up was the one in the middle, which was this like bright orange color. And the flavor of this was just super bold. I'm not sure if it was some sort of buffalo or tomato or something, but I just wasn't a huge fan of this one. Just way too strong. But then last but not least, this one was probably the most bizarre just because I wasn't expecting the taste. It's hard to describe. It was kind of just like something super smoky. So definitely not something I would try more than once, but at least being on a flight and included with my ticket, it gave me the option to try some things I would never normally order. But there are some things I would always order, and like you heard earlier, that's the burger. But one thing you can probably see here that was a huge letdown was it was incredibly soggy. I know they have limited options when making food on a plain oven, but I mean, come on. The bread was basically soaking wet and falling apart, and that just kind of really took away from the experience. My reaction, as you can see, was just kind of very so-so. I definitely probably would not order this again, and the taste just didn't make up for the lack of sogginess. So I was kind of disappointed in myself for choosing the burger, but once again, none of the options on this flight really, stood out at me. I'm not a huge seafood person. I wasn't really feeling anything vegetarian or pasta, so for this short flight over to Doha, it was the best option for me. Now, one positive takeaway were the french fries were actually pretty good. They were crispy, which is, once again, surprising for an airplane, and they had a little cute ketchup bottle that came with them, so that helped the meal be a little bit better. But speaking of better, dessert was a home run. I'm not even a huge chocolate guy. Once again, I'm super picky, but this dessert was really good. It melted in your mouth. The flavors were really strong. I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed this dish. And here we are in the Qatar Airways business class lavatory. It's really spacious. I can move around, and it's quite nice with this fancy wood finish, vanity, sorts of fancy products that I don't even know where they come from, but hey, we'll take it. But it's time for bed. The width of the Q Suite on the 777 really is noticeable in bed mode, with both tons of shoulder space and legroom. Definitely one of the best business class beds in the sky, and I want to mention right after I took this video, the flight attendant came by and even put on a mattress topper for me. After like 4 hours of amazing sleep, I was woken up for a light breakfast before approaching to Doha. I wasn't super hungry, so I went with some light danishes, yogurt, and a smoothie combination, which was perfect. Now, when you're flying in business class, sometimes these like 6 to 7 hour flights are honestly too short to fully enjoy the experience. It felt like time had just completely flown by, and it was only an hour or two since we left London. There's also free Starlink Wi-Fi on board to keep you entertained, so this flight is just endless with things to do, and I wish it was longer. Now, I do have a connecting flight here in Doha, but it's just not the same when it's broken down into smaller segments. Still, I'm super thankful that I was able to find a great deal in business class and enjoy the journey. So, I just walked off the plane, and they dropped us right off in the terminal, which is nice. No security or anything. But my connecting flight is delayed 4 hours, and I'm gonna miss my connection to Singapore, so I have to try to find help, and hopefully they can get me rebooked on an earlier flight, because I have like a 5-hour layover that's now a 9-hour layover. So anywho, we're here in Doha. Now to find out where the hell I can get assistance to get rebooked, so I don't have any idea. We'll ask these guys. Alright, so we have good news. There is an earlier flight to Bangkok, 30 minutes earlier, and it was sold out in business class but had 3 seats in first class. So they were able to upgrade a premier member and put me into business class. So I have a seat to Bangkok 30 minutes earlier than planned. So let's go check out the lounge, I guess, and go from there. Alright, after all of that, we finally got a seat. I had to wait like 20 minutes for somebody to leave. But they have this absolutely delicious red velvet pudding. I don't know what it is, but it is so good. Now, this might be my hot take of the video, but in my opinion, Doha Hamad International Airport is the best airport in the world, and I don't think it's even close. That includes airports like Singapore that I think are pretty overrated. Singapore Airport has carpet, which is hard to drag your luggage, and it can be an extremely long walk to your gate. I also don't like doing security at the gate. I like to get that over with right away, so then I can just relax and enjoy the airport. And speaking of enjoying the airport, this one has so many options with endless lounges, including 2 priority pass lounges at either end of the airport. And it has the Orchard, which is actually inside the airport, unlike Singapore. So we'll check that out in a few minutes. So just as I was taking that video to show that option of the other lounge, some lady came and like aggressively yelled at me to stop filming, saying it's not allowed. So I'm like, okay. No one in the other lounge cared. They were all super nice. So I don't know what it was about the North Lounge, but anyways, I'm at the Orchard now, so we're gonna check that out. It's much more enjoyable here anyways, so I decided not to go to the other one. So yeah, as I was saying, I love how the Orchard, this beautiful garden area of the Doha airport, is actually in the passenger terminal. So you can spend time here and enjoy it between your flights. Meanwhile in Singapore, the Jewel, yes, it's absolutely amazing. It's beautiful. The waterfall and the greenery, the shops, everything are stunning. But it's not even in the passenger terminal. You have to actually spend extra time before or after your flight if you want to check it out. Here, it's all part of the experience. I really enjoyed walking around. You can even grab a gelato and feel like you're in a park somewhere, not like you're in an airport. So honestly, a long layover here at Doha is amazing because you can spend so much time checking out lounges, the orchard, there's even a hotel with a pool. There is so much you can do. And if you're lucky, maybe you can grab one of these little teepees and take a nap. But anyways, my time has already gone by, so let's head to the gate. As I alluded to earlier, there's extremely comfortable seating at the gates in the form of these couches. So yeah, further cementing my opinion, this is the best airport there is. And today we have another all-white 777-300. This aircraft was previously owned by Cathay Pacific and is now flying on behalf of Qatar Airways. Both my original flight and the flight I was rebooked on have this same configuration, so I didn't miss out on anything, thankfully, due to the delay. Now let's get on board and check it out. It's in a 121 reverse herringbone configuration, which honestly is probably my least favorite business class configuration, other than the 222 mini pods that Qatar Airways operates on some of their older 777s. So on this flight to Bangkok, it could be worse. The seat was definitely starting to show its age, but at least Qatar has put lipstick on a pig with all of their amenities that you would expect on any of their flights, and one positive is the legroom is absolutely fantastic. The seat's just a little bit dated, that's it. So if Qatar Airways is going to keep these planes in their fleet, they just probably should go ahead and update them. But the service is what we have come to expect on Qatar Airways. I've had my third lemon mint of the trip, and my second amenity kit. So let's get in the air and on the way to Bangkok. So good.
Islands may fall out. You have to be careful. Wait a minute. Rosie, hey, who's doing my safety video?
The chief boss sent me. He fitted my name in the good account. I'll be in the Q suite if you need me, okay?
Yeah, well, it's probably because you can just see the back of it. I couldn't see the back of it. Look, you gotta push, make sure you push it back. Okay? That's important. I couldn't see the thing.
It's about 9 a.m. blasting out of Doha, so for breakfast I went with these amazing raspberry-filled beignets. I swear the thing that Qatar Airlines really excels at are any sort of like baked item. I don't know how they do it so well, but their breakfasts and their desserts are just amazing. A banana smoothie finishes off the meal with perfection. Now, since it's still quite early and I'm quite tired from the short overnight flight from London, I'm going to get some more rest on the way to Bangkok before waking up for lunch. Now, the shoulder room is quite large due to the fact that there's no door in this suite. You are a bit exposed to the aisle, which is one of the reasons I'm not a big fan. And while the bed is long, it does get a little bit narrow for your legroom. But still, I was able to get comfortable and get a few hours of rest. Hello. At this point, I probably look like a crazy person. 3 flights, almost down. We're somewhere between India and Thailand. I just woke up after another long nap. And it's time for dinner. But anyways, this is the loo. It's extremely basic, kind of disappointed. Cathay Pacific, this is what you had on your planes. I mean, it's basically an economy toilet in between first class and business class as well. Anyhow, let's have steak coming right up. Since I knew that steak was on the menu for both flights, I saved it for my second flight out of Doha, as I figured the catering would be a little bit better, and boy, I was not wrong. This steak was one of the best I've ever had in the air. It was cooked to the perfect level with a little bit of pink, and plenty warm in the center, with great flavor. So, Qatar Airways, you redeemed yourself for dinner with the steak on this flight. And to make things even better, the dessert on today's flight was absolutely incredible. This was called a gooseberry friand, so it was some sort of cake with berries and delicious vanilla ice cream on top, and a big dab of mascarpone cream on the side. All of this together was just absolute perfection. On approach into Bangkok, I was a little bit confused by the color scheme. It seemed we had India colors going on the left side, but Thailand red, white, and blue on the right side. All in all, I have to say Qatar Airways onboard service was just as good on this flight, but the hard product definitely needs updating if they're going to continue to fly these ex-Cathay Pacific 777s into the future, especially when it comes to the seat design and the lavatory. It could definitely use a refresh. And there is no free Wi-Fi on this either, so it's kind of inconsistent when you have free Starlink offered on the Qatar Airways aircraft, and then you have paid slow Wi-Fi available on the other airline aircraft that Qatar Airways is operating. So their fleet is a bit of a mess. Everyone seems to be arriving to Bangkok, and I'm the only one connecting. It's like swimming upstream, but that's good. It means no crowds where I'm going. I would hate to see the immigration line right now. There are so many people arriving. The first layover had Taco Bell, the second layover had Priority Pass and the Orchard, and here we are at Bangkok, where there are probably like 50 million Priority Pass lounges. It's definitely one of the best places to take advantage of the perk, so having a business light fare was no big deal at all. I was pretty full once again from all the meals on the airplane, so just had a light snack and passed some time before heading down to my gate for the fourth and final leg to Singapore. Now, this fourth leg was purchased separately with my own points and miles on Singapore Airlines, so I'm glad I was able to make my self-connection on time after the scare of the delay earlier. Now I'm on economy for this first leg because it was only 6,000 points and too good of a deal to pass up, and it's only about 2 hours down to Singapore. Even though this is a short flight, Singapore uses their wide-body aircraft on board. They aren't in a bit of a more regional Asia configuration, so the legroom is a little bit tighter than what you would find on their typical A350s or 787s, but still, the product is quite good with a great entertainment screen, and we even got a meal for this short flight. Now, one pro tip with Singapore Airlines is pre-order your meal. While I couldn't choose what I wanted, I was able to put that I didn't want seafood, and that alone made sure that my meal was delivered first. So I was able to be the first one of 300 passengers served, and then sit back, relax, and enjoy a movie on our way down to Singapore. Okay, let's be honest. I didn't really watch Lion King, but instead took a nap, and finally made it to Singapore. 2 calendar days, 5 different airports, 3 different airlines, 4 different flights. We have made it, and I'm going to enjoy an amazing week here in Southeast Asia with my mom and brother. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace. Look who's here. Alright, that's going to be it for this one. Singapore out.